Welcome to the Arsenal Show. We are live and we've got a full house tonight again. We've got a special guest, Simon Lester. How you doing, Simon?
Good evening, Kieran. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me on again.
No problem. We've got our co-host, Steve K, in the building. How you doing, Steve?
How you doing, mate? All right.
All right. And we've got our other co-host, Jerome Marks. How you doing, Jerome?
Yeah, all fine. Thank you very much.
All right. We've got plenty to discuss tonight. We're going to discuss Arsenal's disciplinary issues. Are there any at all? Are they much worse than any other team in the Premier League or around? We're going to be discussing, obviously, the transfer window is coming to an end. Arsenal are yet to make a signing, and it seems like they could come to rue it. And, of course, we've got to be discussing Sunday's matchup against Burnley, seeing as we had Simon Lester, who was actually at the game. So he may have seen some things that we didn't see. I'm sure he didn't. I'm sure we didn't miss anything at all. But let's go straight to him. Simon, you was at the game. You were saying just before we came on, as soon as it kicked off, you knew how it was going to go. You could feel it in the air. What was your take on the game then?
Yeah, I mean, it was basically the 11 fittest players started. So we had a centre back at right back. We had a makeshift midfield. And what we did have as well was a team full of players running on empty. And in front of them, we had 10 behind the ball permanently, a physical side who don't concede many goals, even though they're bottom. If you look at the stats, that they don't actually, they don't go down 4 or 5-0 in games. So they're quite well organised. And after 15, 20 minutes, the game developed into a pattern whereby we had a couple of decent chances, but it just didn't happen. But ultimately, the longer it went on, the more you knew that it was just going to be 0-0. Lacazette had the best chance in the second half. That was right in front of me.
Yeah.
He should have scored, but didn't.
Yeah, what I was going to say, was it as clear-cut as what I thought it was clear-cut? I thought that he should have scored all day long, but was it that clear-cut?
There was a defender coming in on him, but basically, it's a couple of foot past the post. So he should have scored, really. And I think they had 20 shots on goal last night. I don't know how many were on target, but 20 shots on goal. But, we come away from it and you think there's a missed opportunity, really. We should be sat in the top 4 now with a couple of weeks off. But very disappointing not to pick up the 3 points. But then it highlights that we are struggling with a squad that when X amount of players are not available, we're just having to shuffle players around and bring in players that are not comfortable playing in certain positions. So it really emphasises that the disciplinary issues, there was no party. Well, that was his own fault. That was 2 ridiculous bookings that he got in the Liverpool game. And Xhaka is Xhaka, isn't he? So, he's just paying the price for what the stupid tackle at Liverpool. Now, had we had those 2 players in the middle of the park, I'm sure it would have been a slightly different game. But we didn't. It was their fault. So, as I say, we didn't have anybody who we could bring in. Lokonga looked a little bit lost in the role that they tried to play him in. But Burnley did nothing. They offered very little, but it was down to us. We had 90 minutes to break them down, and we couldn't do it despite all the possession. We must have had 70% possession, and we couldn't do it. So, very disappointing, I'm afraid. Very disappointing 4 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, no signings. Two sort of poor results, really. So the break comes at a good time, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. Steve, do you agree the break has come at a good time? It's a good time to recharge the batteries and remember what we have done this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, if anything, what this break will do, to me, it just gives us a chance to, get our players that are injured, back up to get back up to full fitness. I mean, I didn't have a chance to see the game, but my dad was at the game and he's pretty much filled me in on what went on there. And I mean, if anything, what this break will do, it'll give us a chance to, refresh our batteries, if you like, because we started to look tired from the bits and pieces that I did see for the weekend. That we look very tired. We look very tired in the Liverpool game, and that all goes down to players being out, players being suspended, players being injured. So yeah, definitely a good time to have a break.
Yeah, Jerome, what's your thoughts on the Burnley game? I know you said a few words on Sunday, but has anything changed much?
No, not really. It's, as I said at the time, it's one of those games where I know we have players, as Simon rightly said, running on empty, and you're very limited in terms of who you can pick. But you have to beat that team. You have to beat the team at the bottom of the league when you're playing at home, unless you are absolutely decimated with injuries and you're playing like half of your reserve team. Otherwise, you've got to be beating that team. And I know that there's plenty of reasons, plenty of players that couldn't play. But looking back, Arteta had he had some days to prepare, and you've just got to find a way of breaking the team down. It's not you have to score just one goal, whether it be from a set piece, bit of magic from someone. And yeah, I think what that game has shown, what we knew before really, is that we really need to add some people to this squad. And I think that everyone probably knows now, if we don't, then unfortunately our hopes and dreams of top four might not come to fruition. But we've still got a few days left.
I mean, the overriding thing was that it was disappointing, wasn't it? I mean, it was a little bit gutting, but and we should be beating sides like Burnley at home. But Burnley on their day, I'm sure I don't have to tell everyone, can do a number on most teams. I know they're not the Burnley that we used to know, but they seem to always have one over on us. They beat us last season, and they managed to get a draw with us against this season. So sometimes you come up against teams where the mentality ain't right, where you think, oh, this team sort of we find it hard against this team, well, wherever they are in the league, whether they're in the middle table, whether they're whether they're bottom. Again, but it was disappointing. I mean, you do have to look at the midfield. There was no midfield, and it's the most important part of the pitch for me. If you've got no midfield, then I don't think it matters whether you're Liverpool or Man City. If you've not got a midfield, then I think you're going to struggle. And that's a big thing. And you've just said about bringing a player in, and that's something that we knew before. Again, we knew this before the Burnley game. And again, up front, we've said it all before. It's midfield where we lack in depth. Up front, we lack a goal scorer. And I don't want to sound boring, but I did say we will come up against teams at home who are really poor and rubbish, who will get a result against us because we've got young players. Because we need a couple more. It will happen, and if this hasn't proved my point, I don't know what I don't know what game will, and there might be another one in a couple of weeks' time or 3 weeks' time. We'll be on here again and we'll be saying, we're gutted, and we will be gutted, and it will be disappointing. But anyway,
Simon, how much of this is self-inflicted? We've had, as you said earlier, we had Granit Xhaka red card, Thomas Partey red card, both very poor timings. Do you think we've got a disciplinary problem, not just with cards, but potentially penalties in crucial games?
Well, I mean, obviously the stats indicate that we get more players sent off than anybody else, and we've had more red cards this year than or this calendar year than what we scored goals. So if you're not keeping 11 men on the pitch in any game, you're giving yourself more to do. So we sort of revelled with the rearguard action at Liverpool a couple of weeks ago when we went down to 10 men. But you can't. I mean, the Partey one. I don't know why he brought him on, to be honest, because he landed in the morning. that game was gone as far as I was concerned, and bringing him on
2-0 at the time.
Yeah, bringing him on made no difference. So I think that was a bit of an own goal. Have we got a disciplinary problem? I don't think. No, not massively. Because if you look at it, we're not getting players sent off for rash sort of squaring up to other players and things like that. Predominantly, there are either 2 stupid yellow cards or 1 bad tackle in Xhaka's case, like the Gabriel one at Man City. That was 2 stupid mistakes there. Xhaka, that was a red card at Liverpool. I mean, whatever way you want to look at it, he should have been sent off for that. And what's the other one we've had this year?
Gabriel, Man City, Thomas Partey.
The Partey and Gabriel ones were easily avoidable. And Xhaka's one was just a typical Xhaka tackle, wasn't it? Like I always say about Xhaka, if you put him, if Xhaka's in the middle of the park, looking forward with nobody around him and the ball at his feet, he's great. He pings out a pass. He can be great. As soon as you put him under pressure and you've got him running towards his own goal, then he turns into someone completely different who basically is a ticking time bomb. So going forward, not a bad player. Coming the other way, total opposite. So I don't think it's so much a discipline problem. But if you look, I think our season is going to be defined by certain games. We've got 4 away games that I can think of: Wolves, Palace, Southampton, and I'm trying to think of the other one, Aston Villa. Just pick those 4 games. Yeah. Now, on paper, you think they're all winnable, but you sort of, they're sort of games that I look at and think, do you know what? If we don't turn up and we're not on it from the first minute, or if we play like we did against Burnley, we're going to drop points. Now, to get in the top 4, to me, you've got to take 10 points from those 4 games. You've got to be looking at winning at those grounds. Now, you saw on Saturday, Man City struggled at Southampton. Yeah. Villa are on a bit of an upturn. Wolves, Wolves are certainly. I mean, that's the next time I'm going. Wolves in a couple of weeks, but there's certainly no pushover at home. And Southampton, here's the other one, Palace. Nobody gets an easy run there. So those are the types of game for me that are going to define where we end up. And in order to give ourselves the best chance possible, we've got to have a maximum squad available and possibly a couple of additions, because we just didn't look like scoring on Sunday. So we can't go to those types of games and not have a relevant goal threat up front.
Yeah, I agree. Jerome, bad timing with those 2 players, or do you think it's disciplinary issues?
Oh, you know what? The one with Partey, I had a little think about that Partey one. Obviously, we all love him as a player and we love him in our midfield, but I think throwing him on in that game when he's just landed that day, it's not as if he's a centre forward where you stick him up front, go on, nick us a goal. Like he's a central midfielder. His game isn't really about being so productive at the end of the pitch that he can make a difference. You need him on like the whole game. He's not really the type of player that will come on for 10 minutes, change a game. That's not who he is. So looking back, I know, like with hindsight and stuff, yeah, it was probably the wrong decision. Thinking that he was going to get us back in that game, a centre midfielder, it doesn't really happen. It's very rare you'd bring a centre midfielder on to change a game. For, I think he was on the pitch for or he came on in the 77th minute or something like that. But anyway, I'm sure during the game, everyone was probably thinking the same. Yeah, let's bring him on. But really, when you think about it, it was probably the wrong decision. We've been proper unlucky. That's our starting centre midfield, and they've been out for these games. Really, we could have done with you mentioned about, is it a good time for the break coming up now? Really, we could have done with this break a few weeks ago. We've been absolutely perfect. But the only good thing is with this, what's happened in the last few weeks is it's only been 2 league games. I know the cups are, everyone wants to do well in the cups, but it's not as if we've come out of this period and we're like 10 points away from 4th and we're struggling. Like we're still in a strong position, I think. And hopefully when when we've got our first choice centre midfield back, we'll see a big difference. But yeah, it's like Steve said, the midfield is so important, and it's just killed us not having our first choice centre midfield. Makes a big difference.
Definitely. Steve, just bad timing. Do you think on this occasion with the disciplinary? Sorry.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think when it happens, we're going to talk about it and we're going to bring it up and we're going to analyse it. But no, I mean, I wouldn't say that we had disciplinary problems. I had a little look before we come on tonight and looked at other disciplinary problems from other Premier League teams, and we ain't that far behind, believe me, than others and certain players, especially in Europe. But two different leagues, I suppose. I mean, whether it's just because he was the type of player I was. I like players who show a bit of passion. I like players who get stuck in and leave their foot in on a football pitch. I think you need that, and every now and then, sometimes that passion is going to goes too far. But I've not seen any other player at any other club who hasn't gone over the top every now and then. I think Xhaka, 5 red cards he's had, if I'm right, since he's been at the club. I think that looking at them, I'll be very surprised if they're not because of a lack of mobility and nothing else, and probably not due to be it like dirty play. He's probably been late or he's left his foot in. And things like that, frustration due to the fact that he's like, I think Simon just said there, we don't, he's not mobile, and he can't get back and he can't run backwards. Well, if that's the case, then somebody else should be doing that job and not Xhaka, and that's got to be sorted out on the training ground. But I think we notice it more because when a player does get sent off, or and then it's added to an injury, and because the squad's it's still a little weak. And again, this is no shock to us. We've known for months now that we need midfielders and we need strikers. So when you get a sending off or when you get injured, it's going to add, and it's going to cause us more problems because the squad is weak. We want to perform well all the time, but every day when we sort of draw a game or we lose a game, I think to us as fans, it's going to stand out more, because we haven't got we've got a weak squad. If Xhaka and Partey was to be sent off, if they left their foot in, if they left their elbow in or something and got sent off, once in a blue moon. And all of a sudden, you had someone on the bench who was, a more experienced Lokonga, for instance. I don't think we'd be really noticing it that much. I don't think we'd be really talking about it because I don't think we'd care. I don't think we'd care that we were putting a foot in or putting an elbow in. But I'm sure. I don't think it's a massive problem.
No, it's just the two players are a big loss, especially the timing of Partey's one. I mean, Xhaka's one was in a game and then it impacted the game and then impacted the game on the Sunday. And with the hope that we had Partey back on the Sunday, that was just in 10 minutes. It was just absolutely dashed. And I think that's what it was. Like you, I checked the disciplinary record. Most people probably be surprised that João Cancelo has more yellow cards than Granit Xhaka, Yves Bissouma, Marcos Alonso, Ruben Neves. They all have more than Xhaka. And Partey as well, considering they're two DMs. Gabriel Magalhaes only has 2. Conceding of penalties 4. Once again, I just think it's, and if you look at, I matched it up against top team in the Prem, and then team that's probably you'd think of the most rugged team in and around the top 6, and that's West Ham. Very similar with regards to discipline. So I don't think it's a disciplinary problems. I just think it's a problem or a timing. I just think it's just really.
I think it goes back to the 70s, Kieran. I think we was known for a bit of getting sent off then, and I just think it's stuck with us, and I don't think it'll ever go away.
I mean, one thing I want to ask of Simon. You saw the Westwood challenge against Tierney. when you first saw it, did you think that was a red card, or did you think it was a fair decision? It was a yellow at the time, and then why the second one as well? How did you get away with that?
That was on the halfway line, so I was in the clock end. But I got sent a picture of that at half time, and someone who was walking out behind me in the seats behind me stopped and looked at the freeze frame of that that tackle on his leg and said, "Was that the tackle?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "How is that not a red card?" So I don't even think that got referred to VAR, did it?
No, it didn't.
Once again, we come up with a consistency thing. So real time, it didn't look as bad as what it clearly was to me. So obviously you only get one look at it at real speed when you're in the stadium. But obviously if they'd have replayed that on the big screen, people would have thought differently. But once again, why does that not get referred for a VAR? You tell me how that doesn't get referred to VAR. But that ridiculous penalty that Liverpool got 2 hours at the same time did get referred to VAR, and someone's indicating that was a penalty. I just the incompetency of these idiots that are there is staggering. But we knew that they were going to be a physical team. They racked up 2 early yellow cards. And you think, keep going. You'll go down to 10 men, which, all right, they'd have had 9 behind the ball instead of 10 behind the ball then. But I can't use that as an excuse for why we didn't win. But obviously, when I saw the tackle when I got home that night, it does make me wonder why. It's the consistency thing, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Paul Belair says that in 98-99, Arsenal got 10 red cards. Look, Arsenal can't be accused of having a soft underbelly, which the media love to throw at us. Then when we start to have a couple of seasons where it seems like we're galvanising and really getting together, and when one goes down, we all go down. When one's fighting, we all fighting. And I love that. And I think that's what that breeds that camaraderie, togetherness. And when you have that and you're playing good football, that's when you've got a team that's going to be winning things and challenging for things. You learn along the way how to channel that. Patrick Vieira came in spitting, throwing kung fu kicks, throwing arms everywhere. But after 3 seasons, he calmed down. But Van Persie was getting sent off left, right, and centre. After a few seasons, he calmed right down. And you're talking about legends of the game. So yeah, I wouldn't read too much into it. Glenn says, truthfully, partly shouldn't have played. It was a mistake by Arteta, but we all make mistakes, and he's a rookie manager. No, I agree. Look, we can't expect the players to be learning their trade along the way. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to have games where they didn't play too well and up and down. You've got to expect that the manager. He's learning as well. But I feel like the majority of things he's dealt with in a really good way. He's been very strong-willed, very strong-headed, and I think he's made the right decisions with a lot of them. So yeah, it is what it is, and we get over it. How much did that game show that we needed signings, Simon?
Well, if you look at the 3 strikers, let's take Balogun out of the equation, because he's on loan, so he's not going to be there anyway this season. But if you look at the other 3 strikers, Aubameyang may well have played his last game for us, mightn't he? And Ketcher, he's going to go. And Lacazette, unfortunately, I don't know what. See, Lacazette to me, he's not an out-and-out striker. He's more of a link-up striker. And on his day, like the Man City day, or the games when Aubameyang got dropped and he came in, it was great. It worked really well. But ultimately, when you've got your striker, as he was a couple of times in the position, you need to see the ball hit the back of the net. Now, I don't know what his best return is in the 5 years he's been at Arsenal, but he's certainly not hit 20 goals, is he? So, he's not a Mo Salah, or he's not banging in those sort of figures. So, yes, the answer is we do need a striker. And the other thing that Lacazette hasn't got, he hasn't got pace. So any defender knows that if he's sat on his shoulder, the chances are he's not going to lose a race to Lacazette if the ball gets played over the top. So that's why you see him dropping deeper a lot of the time, looking for the ball and then trying to farm it out wide or link up with midfield players, which is great. But There's no aerial threat, because I would say the last 20 minutes, Gabriel was obviously playing at centre forward for us. So there's no aerial threat. Aubameyang, if he plays, just sits on the shoulder of the defender. He does nothing else all game, does he? So we do need another striker. So obviously, umpteen names have been mentioned in the last couple of weeks. Obviously this Vlahovic isn't coming, is he? So, fair enough. Like we've bid for him. If he doesn't want to come, he doesn't want to come, does he? We can't do anything about that. There's no guarantee he would have been mega successful anyway. But so we move on. But you'd be hopeful that maybe they'll get somebody in this window.
On that, we'll get on to signings now. Steve. No, sorry, Jerome. Let's go to Jerome first. We'll get to Steve on the transfers in a sec. Can you blame Arsenal for going for Vlahovic and trying to press for that deal?
No, not at all. Not at all. Maybe that you want your manager or Edu or whoever's in charge of transfers to go for what they think is the best player. That's what we want. We want we want them to go for target the best players. Whether they've wasted too much time and not had any backup plans is something else. But I don't think you can have a go at them for targeting what in their mind is the best option. Yeah. Hopefully, they're hopefully, fingers crossed, they're intelligent people and they haven't put all their eggs in this basket. Because if we don't end up signing a striker this window, obviously the rest of the season is not going to be as good as what we would like it to be. But no, I don't think you can blame them at all. That's what we want.
Yeah, definitely. Steve, Paul says Vlahovic obviously didn't want to come to us from the start. We've wasted so much time on him. We need to look elsewhere and hopefully we can get a deal done. Do you feel there's an element that Arsenal will use to get Juventus moving on this? And maybe from the Vlahovic side, Arsenal would have been getting indications that would have made them keep pursuing this deal?
Excuse me. Yeah, that's a definite. I mean, Joe Baroni was, he was very vocal in coming out and saying that he had known about the offer from Arsenal, and that it was in so many words that the offer had been accepted, and everything was fine between the two parties. It was just that it turned out in the end that it was true, that the guy was just gone missing. The agent was just playing, just hiding away. He wasn't talking to Baroni in the end. We don't know if he was talking to Arsenal. Obviously, I doubt it, because you'd go through the owner first. But I do think we was used, and I do think that we was, there's something to do with the Morata deal as well with Juventus. I feel that it's all part of that, and the deal with Barcelona, because I know Morata now will be going to Barcelona. I know that for a fact. And when you put all these little pieces, the jigsaw together, you can see that it all comes out. It's the one thing is the fact that Arsenal did everything in their power. They paid the money. They even, put down the extortionate fee that this agent wanted. So we can't put the agent. We can't blame Arsenal for anything in this matter. Like Jerome said there, we just got to hope that Arsenal had, backups, and I'm sure they have. And I'm pretty sure they're doing, and I think that they're looking into that now.
Simon, do you think this is the case, that if Arsenal don't bring in a striker in this window, they're doomed, as Callisto says?
I wouldn't say doomed, because it's not as though we haven't got any strikers at the club. But for me, I think I'd rather bring a striker in than a midfielder, because once we get everybody fit in midfield, I think that makes us stronger there than what it does up front. So obviously we don't fully know what the Aubameyang situation is, won't we? If we're, he might come back, he might be sold, he might just sit out the rest of the season. So we can't really speculate on that. Eddie Nketiah is not going to sign another deal, and to me, he's not the answer. So we're going to go with Lacazette. But I would, if someone said to me, you got Partey and Xhaka back for the rest of the season, that makes the midfield a lot better with the other players that they've got around them and what it does in attack. So I don't think we're doomed, but I would rather see a striker. But I mean, who's the names you got now? Calvert-Lewin. I think that's difficult to get him out of Everton in a week.
No, you won't get him now.
Yeah, we're talking about mid-season. We're talking about and Everton, a team who, I mean, if they continue any bad form that they've been in this season, they could be in trouble as well. So they can't really afford to lose a Calvert-Lewin when he comes back. So
the thing in January, the difference towards the end of the season is that the deal's in the club's hand, and if they say you're not going, you're not going, because we can sign a pre-contract, fine, but you can't do nothing else.
No, it's probably been a loan, you would say, wouldn't it?
You'd think so, but then again, who of any quality is going to come in on loan? Like who realistically from a top club is going to loan out anyone of any stature to us that's going to make a difference? And you do want him to make a difference because, ideally, that player's got to be better than Lacazette, especially in front of goal. The way he's been playing. Again, I don't want to take too much away from what Lacazette's been doing, but when you've got a striker, you have to be putting away chances. And it's been a few times this season, I'll bite my tongue, whereas last season I wasn't, that he's not putting away them simple chances in goal. And it's getting to the crux of the season where we need goal scorers. If you break it down, we've got Lacazette and Aubameyang, who's probably never going to play for the club again. You've got Eddie Nketiah. And I mean, that's it. Like, who else have you got that's out and out centre forward?
I think Arteta should be keeping Aubameyang sweet. I tell you, I think from what I'm hearing, I'd be all over Aubameyang at the moment, and kissing his feet and buying him a present and saying welcome back, and then trying to move him on in the summer.
What do you think? He's going to dig his heels in?
Well, yeah, of course, yeah, because then he can just go to then he'll go to January, then, won't he? And then he can sign a pre-contract. Then it starts to get a little bit iffy, doesn't it? Then and it starts to get a little bit worrying. And but at the moment, you're right. It's all about loan deals, and when you're doing a loan deal, most of the time you're getting someone that that nobody wants.
But the other option you've got is when everybody's back. You can play Martinelli through the middle. I don't see Pepe playing while Saka's fit. Play him through the middle. At least he's got some pace, hasn't he?
Yeah, we'll get on to that now. Gabriel Martinelli, we've seen him shining over this season, especially in the latter part of the first half of the season. Jerome, do you think he is an option that could play up top through that centre?
Yeah, I think so, and I'll tell you for why. I think I can't remember if we mentioned this last time, but I think Smith Rowe plays his best football for us when he's out on the left. I think that is his best position. That's where he sees a lot of the ball. He seems very dangerous from that area, and with a central striker, he doesn't need to be involved in the whole game. Martinelli, he just needs to be able to have a few chances. It needs to be hot for a few minutes a game, Martinelli, if he's playing up front. Don't worry if he's not holding the ball up that well. His movement is excellent. He's pretty decent finisher. Mm-hmm. And he can do what Aubameyang does there, but it'll be more busy, and you'll be able to incorporate your Smith Rowe, Odegaard and Saka behind him. And that's a better option for me than having maybe Nketiah playing up front instead of Lacazette. So yeah, it's definitely an option. Obviously, the only thing is we haven't played like that a lot, but it's an option for sure.
I think the way we set up at the moment, I mean, he won't do it, but I'd like to just see the one defensive midfield player. And if we was to play the one player, whether that be Xhaka or Partey, with Emil Smith Rowe and Odegaard to the sides, like Man City play Bernard Silva, Rodrigo, and De Bruyne. I think that's a very similar setup to play in Partey, Smith Rowe, and Odegaard. And that way, then you could fit Martinelli in. Then you could put Aubameyang down the middle, and then you could fit Saka on the other side. And that way, I mean, it's a risk because you're going to a 4-3-3, like Conte did that time when we played them. But I think, I don't know what you guys think, but I think because of the players that we have in our squad, for me, either one or Partey and Xhaka with those two to the side, I'd like to see it.
But here's a question for you. Yeah, I would suggest it's probably more likely that we'll get a midfielder in than a striker in this window. Yeah. So let's say he brings a midfielder in. Well, where does that play? Whose place does that person take if you're bringing someone in? He's not coming in here to sit on the bench for the next 4 months. So he's coming in with a view to playing. So is he going to take Saka's place? No. Is he going to take Odegaard's place? Probably no. So are you looking at Xhaka or Partey sitting out? Or where are you going to incorporate him from? Because we're obviously keen to bring someone in, aren't we?
For me, it's got to be that. Yeah, for me, it's got to be that player who's in between a Partey, a Xhaka, and an Odegaard. Yeah. He's got to be that balance. Something we haven't had since Aaron Ramsey, and I think he was very underrated at Arsenal. So I think we're missing that massively. Guendouzi, they tried it with him, but he was too inconsistent. His attitude stunk, so I've got no time for him. But we need a ball carrier that can contribute with some goals. And Aaron Ramsey was the perfect sort of blend of that. So if we can get someone in like that, it'd be spot on. But I just think Partey and Xhaka, they're too far away from that. And then Odegaard is not. I like Odegaard more forward, and I've seen it in the last 2 games. He has to be more forward. He has to be. It has to be that 1 defender, 2 defenders in front of him, not 3 or 4 players. He's got to get round, move to the left, move to. He does his best work up the top because he looks for the gaps. He finds the gaps. He sees the runs. His vision's excellent, and it's a waste. It's a waste for me having him so deep.
What Steve was saying about having just one of Partey or Xhaka, and maybe Smith Rowe and Odegaard next to him. I think that on paper and looking at the names, I think it looks great, but I think in reality, I think our midfield is just so vulnerable with just one of them there, and teams just run through us.
It sounds good though, doesn't it?
It sounds, honestly, I love it when you look at the names and you see the names on the paper, they're on the screen. You think, I like him. Yeah. But I just think our midfield is just too easy for teams to sort of overrun us, and we
maybe
can't.
That's certain games, Jerome. Yeah, so, look, you're not going to do that if you go to Chelsea, are you? But you might do it if you got Norwich at home. Or something.
Different games.
I think you could. It's definitely an option there. Do you not think that with regards to back onto the striker, with regards to Martinelli, if you play him in that central role, do you not think you'll lose the energy that he brings from the wing, the tenacity that he has there? Or do you think he'll still be able to bring that in his game?
Well, he's a bit of an Alexis, isn't he? He has got traits of Sanchez in there. So in the end, Sanchez just was playing at centre forward, isn't he? So I don't think you'll lose the energy with him because I think he'll run all over the place anyway. He's never going to stop. But I would give Pepe a go up front as well. I think you give him a go for 2 or 3 games. He's got more. They've all got more pace than Lacazette, and pace hurts, as we all know. If you're a defender, the last thing you want to be up against is pace. So if you don't play him, what are we going to do? Just sit him on the bench for 4 months? Because he's not going to start in front of Saka, is he?
Yeah. I mean, I think you got to try and integrate. Look, if we got Aubameyang and Pepe that are not getting games, one for one reason, one for another. But we've got to work out some way if we're not going to bring in a striker to use them, because if you look, even we may say that Pepe's wasteful when he loses the ball too much and he's inconsistent. He still puts up the numbers. Like he still puts up the numbers on 2 seasons where we've all looked at him and gone, when we've seen him in the game, he's too inconsistent. He's had a nice run. He still puts up numbers. We're talking about 20 goal contributions each season, whether that's from goals or assists. He's doing it, and we could do with that in the final run of the season. if we do not bring in a striker.
He was our biggest goal scorer last season, and he's not had a look in for games, is he? So, there's one competition left. We've got 17 games left. We haven't got a cup side, or we're not saving people for anything else. Every game there is like a cup final. So you've got to get these players somehow back in the team.
Yeah,
I agree with Simon. I would, again, but similar to what Jerome said, on paper, Pepe in the middle with Martinelli and Saka looks really exciting. You think, oh yeah, I'd like to see that. But as you say, once the game starts, can Pepe do that job that Lacazette does, or the Firmino job, which you'll need to do when you're playing a 4-3-3? You need that centre player to do a Firmino job. You need to do it like what Lacazette does. And and when Man City play and they play the false nine, and when Foden's played, he has to do that job. Can we rely on Pepe to do that job? That's the only thing I worry about. I'd love to see it on like what Simon said there, sort of on an attacking basis, on offensive. But I don't think he's got the defensive abilities to do his job in that position. Although, I'd love to see it. And look, at the moment, he's smashing it at AFCON, from what I'm hearing. So if I was
that momentum, then maybe.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say. He's playing well, he's doing well. Get him in. Get him in now. Because Lacazette looks tired, mate. He looks tired.
Yeah,
he does.
He definitely does. So, how important is it that Arsenal don't just go out and get a body that they'd be stuck with for 2 years or whatever? Is it just a case of we just got to see what we've got around the squad, piece it together here, potentially just getting a central midfielder on that loan if it is Arthur, if it is someone else, till the end of the season or 18 months, whatever? Should we just get someone in the midfield, or is it crucial that they get someone up top? Because it feels like, for me, it doesn't. There's not anyone out there. We're hearing Jovic, but that's the other way around. That's as soon as they heard that the Vlahovic one was done, Real Madrid are throwing Jovic in our face, and we're still like,
yeah.
I think if you get a loan, if we get a short-term loan in for 6 months, that's really just to beef up the squad. But I think what we want is something more than that. We want someone that's going to come in and be the main guy, whether that be in midfield or up front. So as long as they don't buy someone that's just like a squad player that they spend a lot of money on, that isn't really like a starter, I don't want them to sort of do that, like buy an El Nene sort of thing. Like, don't do that. I'll be happy if they get someone in short term for 6 months, just maybe as a body. But I think really we want to go above that, and we got to aim higher than that. But as everyone knows, it's very difficult. And if we're talking about strikers, who would we go for? I think the list is quite short, isn't it? I don't think people can probably name 4 top strikers that they would want to buy permanently that we've got a good chance of getting now. It's really difficult.
Yeah,
really difficult.
Like, the one thing is the profile of the player. Like, does the player fit the way we want to play? 2, are they of the level that's better than what we've currently got? Like, and that's key things. That's massive. Are they going to take us into the top 4? Are they going to take us forward?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's the importance, because again, we don't want to just get in a body that we can't sell, and we're paying their wages, and then we're going to be moaning in 2 years' time that this body is now playing week in, week out. We don't need that. We don't need that. Let's go to some of the comments and see what they're saying. We need someone who keeps the ball ticking, like a Gilberto type. Steve, do you think we need a Gilberto type in there?
No, I think. I mean, it'd be lovely to have a Gilberto type inside. What a great player he was. I don't think he's someone that that we could be looking for. In the summer or first of all in January. I don't think we need that. I think we got the way we play. We play it out to the flanks most of the time, or we have our centre halves going down the middle, or we have our Xhaka or Partey popping it off to Odegaard or Smith Rowe and Saka. So we don't really need that And I don't think Arteta wants to play that way. And if you bring in the Gilberto Silva type in with Lokonga and Partey and Xhaka, they're all a bit samey. It's all too similar. I think there's definitely other areas that we need to, need to concentrate on. But we're talking about Arthur Melo just there. I mean, he can do all that. This geezer's absolute. If you ain't seen people, go and have a watch. He's a number 8, as you said earlier on. He cost 80 odd £1,000 from Barcelona, and so yeah, he's one of these players who just didn't tick off in Italy, and he needs somewhere else to make his career again. But you were just talking there about just going on about Mount. And I think getting a loan is going to be a mistake, because if you're talking about top 4, getting a loan striker, I don't think they're really worried about it. They're going back to their club. I mean, even Odegaard, didn't we? Towards the end of his loan, he started to, tail off a little bit. So I hope we don't do that. But yeah, Gilbert a great favourite. I think we're okay with players like that in a minute.
All right. Paul says, we'll go to you on this one first, Simon. Paul says, would you give Wilshere a contract till the end of the season? He's been training with us.
Well, if we don't get anyone else in, it might have to, I think. But,
is that or Charlie Patino?
Yeah, give him a contract due to lack of bodies. But I don't think that would be the preferred option, would it? But I'm going to be very optimistic here and say that I think we will get a player or two in before the end of the window. But who that's going to be or where that's going to be, I don't know. But we all love Jack. He was great, wasn't he, in his prime? But he's not performed at the top level now for what, 2.5 years, something like that. So I think that he's just going to come back and start dictating games from the middle of the park. I think
we can have hope.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it because he's got Arsenal on his heart. But I think we've got to look past that at the moment. But sentimentally, I understand what Paul's saying there. But I can't see it happening. No.
Simon ain't having it, and that was the most diplomatic, nicest way you're going to get. Not a bloody chance. We love Jack, but not happening. Not happening. Bruno Gomes would be a sensational signing. He goes straight into the team. He's the type of signings Arsenal should go for. Statement signings. What's your thoughts on Bruno Gomes, Jerome? I'm sure you've had a look at him before, or have I thrown you into the deep end here?
Yeah, he's he's a top player, very, very highly rated. Probably one of the best centre midfielders out in France at the moment. And I think I've just seen that Newcastle are either they've bid for him or they're very interested in him. It's just sort of come out the last sort of hour or so.
That was me.
He would be one of those sort of midfielders that you would maybe sit next to. He could play next to either Partey or Xhaka. Got amazing range of passing, very strong, technical. But it looks as though Newcastle are going for him.
Well, we'll see. I don't know if anyone decent wants to be going Newcastle in January when they're going to be fighting a relegation battle. That'll be a suicide for him, suicide. I think the thing is with him, I think he said he wants to stay till the end of the season to make sure they get into the Champions League spot. Exactly it was always a signing that was potentially Arsenal are interested. It's just always a sign that Arsenal would more likely go to the end of the season, where it seems like the Melo one to the end of the season would have been ideal, but it just have Arsenal got their everything in a line. I remember a press conference at the start of the transfer window where Mikel Arteta was asked if he was going to bring in any players in January. He said, yes, he's going to be looking to bring in players. And they asked, are you confident? He said, words, I'm always confident. He was asked the other day the same question. Was you meant to be bringing in players in the January transfer? And his first response was very sharp. It was like a sharp, we were meant to. And then he sort of checked himself and gave a very professional Mikel Arteta response after that. But for me, it seems like he's a little bit wound up that deals haven't been done or things haven't been moving. because it very much seemed like Arsenal were bringing in players in January because they know the position they were in, and they were in a position of strength, and they needed to bring in someone at that time. It's a little bit disappointing that nothing's been done. Steve, Glenn says Arthur Melo's a press-resistant ball-playing central midfielder. It gives me Thiago vibes. We haven't had a player like that since Santi. Agree?
Yeah, exactly that. It's exactly who he is. A bit of Santi, a bit of Ramsey, a bit of Odegaard, a bit of Xhaka, a bit of Partey's, a bit of everything. He can do the lot, and that's why he costs £80 million from Barcelona. That's why they paid the money for him. So he's a quality footballer. He can score goals. He can play in every position across that midfield. He can play in the centre. He can play to the left. He can play to the right. I've even seen him play centre back before. But I think because he can do all that, I don't think Juventus knew they don't know what to do with him. They don't know where to put him. They don't know where to. They're sort of using him as a facility player, versatile player. Sorry, and they just don't know what to do with him. And I'd love this player to come to us. I mean, he's obviously the more likely. I don't know why Arsenal are dithering over this 18-month loan. I can't get my head around that because I thought that would be perfect for Arsenal. Because 6 month loans, they just it's not for me. 6 month loans.
Do you think that's because they want to bring in? They've got their eyes set on someone in the summer who they want to bring in.
Well, they could have Bruno Guimaraes in their in their eyesight, but for me, there ain't a lot. There ain't a lot to choose between them. They're two excellent players. Okay, fair enough that over the last year or so, Miller's been hasn't done it, and Guimaraes has, but Guimaraes will cost a lot more money than what Miller will. And it has to be that. It can't be nothing else but that when you want a 6 month loan. But we'll have to wait and see.
Simon, Glenn says Arteta is suffering and needs to stop protecting Edu and call him out. It's never going to happen, Glenn. Like this is the professionals here. However, I do know what you mean. Maybe a little chat in the ear to the owner. Do you think this is the case?
We don't know, do we, what's happening behind the scenes? So, these same conversations were going on in the summer, and then all of a sudden all these new players turned up. So, we'd be foolish to sit here and think that clearly money is available because otherwise, because they bid for Vlahovic, so they met the asking price. So money's not restricting us, but you've got to, as we saw with Vlahovic, you've got to convince everybody that it's the right project. But we've still got a week left, haven't we? I know people get nervy and panicky, but I think we'll get a player or two in, whoever it may be. I saw another name mentioned today was Neves, but they were talking more about the summer there. I'd have him at Arsenal tomorrow.
Ruben Neves, he's a very, very good player. Just on the back of what Simon said, he is right. A lot of fans have been very critical of Edu. However, we weren't critical after we went on the 10-game unbeaten run, and we were talking about how good Tomiyasu, Ben White, and Edu makes these deals happen, along with Richard Garlick as well. Credit where credit's due there. So, yes, we are frustrated. We are looking for people to blame because if we don't have the answers, we've got to fill in the gaps. But sometimes it's not so straightforward. However, I will say Arsenal need to make sure they get something done before the end of the transfer window.
I don't think we can call Edu and Garrick out or the Cronkies out. Certainly not in this window anyway, because they're doing everything they can to get players in. From what I'm hearing, and they haven't gone out to Dubai. Garrick and Edu have stayed at home to sort out transfer business. So that's a good sign.
100%, definitely a good sign. One player that well, we have been linked to a young Brazilian, hopefully in the mould of Martinelli, is Endrick. I know that some Arsenal fans are already giving him nicknames. Jimmy, not bad. I thought it was pretty quick. Jerome, you had a little look at him. What would he have to offer if he was?
Wow. Well, he's still got to do. He's still about a year away from doing his GCSEs. He's only 15, so he's got to make sure he passes them. I don't know which ones he's chosen, but yeah, no, he's fifth. Like you said, he's 15. He's playing for Palmeiras. He's playing for their under-20s, as well as their under-17s, and it's just sort of the next one, I guess, the next kid on the block. His goal record for like the Palmeiras youth team, it's basically a goal a game for the last about 170 games, and he's got all the top clubs looking at him, isn't he? Left-footed centre forward. The way he runs, imagine like a sprinter playing football. Mm-hmm. The way that he runs, he looks like a sprinter when he runs. He's just absolutely rapid. He's got that running technique, but as you can imagine, Brazilian touch, bit of flair, bit of magic. I think he scored a bicycle kick from outside the box recently at this. He's got him playing in an under-20 tournament at the moment. 15, looks like the next big thing. For 15 playing with under-20s, that's a joke. That's ridiculous.
Edu, get it done. Get it done, mate. Get it done. Before we go, let's have a look at a couple of more of these comments. 18-month loan would be great if it helps us qualify for the UEFA Champions League and still be a loan and provide depth for us. Would you go for the 18-month loan, Simon?
Yeah, I haven't got a problem with that. I would bring him in because he's the right age. He's played at two massive clubs. I see that as a plus. The only downside that I've seen of him is he's quite injury prone. But we've had players like that before, and there's no sometimes you can draw a line under it. But I would definitely, I would like to think that we can get that deal done by next Monday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same here. I'm confident that we're going to bring in a player. I'm confident. Maybe it's foolish, but I'm confident. We've been here before.
I just think we need a striker. I mean, personally, I've never aimed for top four anyway. I've always said I'm just happy with Europe, and I'm not expecting top four. So, I'm a bit different from some Arsenal fans.
But do you see us bringing in a striker of the level? We're talking about how we and Mikel Arteta, I think, is the same. Not that we're thinking the same alike, but is it a case that Arsenal are not going to bring in a player that's not going to be better than what we've got? And if so, is there someone out there now in the January transfer window that we could bring in?
Well, the two players that are Arsenal interested in are Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and that's a summer one. You're not going to get him in January. Yeah. And the other one is Alexander Isaac of Real Sociedad. Mm-hmm. Scored 30 goals in 50 appearances, and he's on a long contract, and he's going to cost a lot of money.
He just signed a contract in the summer, didn't he?
Yeah. He's got a big release clause, which Arsenal could pay, and that's it. I think it's 90. I think it's 90 million euro. Yeah. His release clause. I mean, if they've got any ambition, they'd go and pay it. And then there's the rumours of Jovic. One minute you're hearing that he's available, then you're hearing he's not. But then after that, you're not looking. There's not really anything else being mentioned, and that's a bit worrying. And for me, it seems to me like that really they need to get Aubameyang back up and running again. For me, from what I'm hearing out there, and it seems to be just that those two are the main, people that they want. But that's big money, and they're going to be so difficult to get out of their clubs, for January. And I just think he should be, pulling Aubameyang to one side and trying to get him up and running again. Because if he is, we've got a chance top 4. If he's not, if we haven't, we need that Aubameyang back. If we don't buy no one, if we don't, forget it. For me, anyway. For me.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they do towards the end of the season because I just don't see Aubameyang coming back in. I would have liked to, but yeah, it seems from what the noise is about that he ain't going to be back in the team. All right, last one before we go. Jerome, Glenn says he can't wait to see the Amazon documentary and really see how busy Edu is. Are you looking forward to seeing the Amazon documentary?
Yeah, definitely. Like that's what fly on the wall stuff. It's like,
tell me about it.
It's perfect. It's exactly what you want. You want to know what's going on, the ins and outs. Yeah, it'd be
and especially if we could
amazing.
finish this campaign with a Champions League spot, or even just finishing well in a Europa League spot, in 5th spot or something like that.
Yeah, it'll be amazing viewing. Think of all the rubbish that's on TV, and you get to watch all of this Arsenal behind the scenes. It's perfect.
Yeah, mate,
absolutely perfect.
I'll be wanting to see behind the scenes of behind the scenes. I'm going to be glued to it. You
Just
looking forward to it, Sam? Go on.
Sorry, mate. No, go on. Sorry.
Sam, are you looking forward to the Amazon documentary? Get to see.
Yeah, I'm waiting for I'm waiting for the camera crew to turn up on the train to film me on my 380-mile round trip to home games each week. And
I don't know how you do it. Absolute trooper. How many miles round trip is that?
380, I reckon. But there you go. It's not too bad when you say it. But I have heard a bad rumour that the Brentford game is going to be moved back a day, which is it's like Burnley all over again. So I'm hoping that's not true. But I've heard the Wolves game is going to go in on the Thursday before Brentford, which means Brentford will get pushed back to the Sunday. So Thursday doesn't happen. But, I think the televised fixtures are out tomorrow for March. So it might be something out tomorrow. But if you got a ticket for the Brentford game and you're watching this, yeah, I would be on tenterhooks if you've got travelling arrangements.
All right. Well, we've got the voice of Arsenal there as well. He's giving us travel arrangements. What's going on? Traffic updates.
Am I sort of sorry? Am I like, am I wrong to think not aim for 4th with this side?
It's in our hands.
It's not a case for me. It's not a case of not aim for.
Because I can't see it. I just don't see. I don't see it.
Yeah,
I've never seen. I didn't see it. I've never seen it. I'm just looked at it as a bonus. If we get it, fantastic, great. But
yeah,
I'm not aiming for it.
I think it is. I think that is a bonus. It is a bonus if you can get 4th.
Yeah.
But I think you got to aim for it, and then anything below that is probably what we expected for the season. It's probably our season expectations. Which even if we get 5th with this team, I still think that's an achievement because I don't think. Yeah. Many people were looking at the start of the season. I think it was just a case of let's get Europe so we can get back in, challenge to get those players that want to be playing in Europe. And we do need to be in there because we're not even going to have the conversations. The fact that, yes, I know Vlahovic was slightly different because he's always had his eye on Juventus, but there are going to be players out there that will be looking at Arsenal, be like, oh, yeah, it's a nice project, but are you in Europe? Are you in Champions League? Is that secured yet? Man United picking up form. It's a bit... Whereas if it come the summer, when we are back in Europe, it won't be a case of that. It will be a case of, okay, this is a good project. They've progressed over the last season. Top quality players. I want to be a part of this. And I think that'll be a lot easier in the summer when we are in Europe. So, yeah. All right. Last few comments before I go. Granit Xhaka will make this 5-star viewing. 100% he will. We won't have players for the documentary by the rate of the players going out. 4th is open. Third down is open.
Calm down. Calm.
I keep hearing that. And I'm looking at Chelsea and I'm like, really? Is that are they up for grabs? I don't know. Do you know why I say that?
Do you know why I said that? Because I know that if we don't finish 4th and we finish 5th, the fan base is going to say, we're rubbish, Arteta out, they're useless, we're terrible. You know how it's going to go.
Those people. There's always going to be those people. I was in a space the other day where someone turned around and said, yeah, my season expectation at the start of the season was 4th spot. And I was like, huh? What league? What league? How was at the start of the season? You looked at our team. You looked at Man United, who came second, brought in Rafael Varane, Ronaldo, and Sancho, and thought, well, we coming fourth. Come on. Don't do this to yourself. What's this? If we want fourth, we need a busy 6 days. We do. But it's there, and I think Europe's there. But it's going to be tough. Man United is still about. West Ham is still about. Tottenham are about. It's going to be tough. And there's only one spot up for grabs, in my opinion. All right, that is all we have time for. Thank you, everyone who's joined us tonight. A couple of new names, a couple of old names. Good to see you back. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure you share it. Why not share it? So you can share it for all your friends. If you're watching on Twitter, make sure you come over to KS1 TV and smash that subscribe button. If you're watching on Facebook, change your settings so we can see who you are. I know Paul did it before. He was coming up as a blank, just an egg. Now we get to see his face. All right. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, Simon.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, Jerome.
Yeah, of course. Cheers. Thanks.
And thank you very much for joining us tonight, Steve.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Pleasure.
All right. Thank you all for the support. Peace out, people. Stay safe and wash your hands.